Very cool. In terms of the record itself, as we said, February 23rd is when it's out. You can pre-order it now, get online and do the usual stuff. You can get various copies and things like that. But in terms of the release date itself, Mac the Wolf was in touch and he said it's almost 50 years to the day since the release of the original Kiss record, the debut Kiss record. So was that planned or was it coincidence? And looking back now, what's your feelings on that debut Kiss record?
Well, it's been a roller coaster ride, I joined KISS in 72, 73, left in 82. Then I rejoined for the reunion tour in 95, 96. And then I quit again in around 2001, 2002. And, what the success of my solo album in 1978, after I got back together with the guys, I kind of realized I kind of saw the writing on the wall, that I realized that I was more creative away from Paul, Gene, and Peter than I was when I was around them. We were great live, and 4 guys from 4 different backgrounds, but magic happened when we performed. Eventually we fell into those pitfalls and traps. Once we became famous, I overindulged in drugs and alcohols, and so did Peter. For some reason, Paul and Gene, I don't think they ever did cocaine, but I remember, when I was going to Studio 54, everybody did cocaine. But it seems over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a trend in Hollywood and in the music business to get sober. And I've been sober now 17 years, and it's made the world of difference for me. I'm just able to concentrate more. I'm more creative. I'm healthier. I dropped 45 pounds in the last year and a half. I'm down to 175. And I feel great. My fiance is also a personal trainer, besides being a school teacher and a painter. So, what the biggest problem for us in the 70s was? Bands didn't want us to open for them because we're a tough act to follow. We got all these bombs and amplifiers and you name it, we got it. And nobody wanted to follow us. So, we had problems, Luckily, with the success of the live album, that our first live record, we ended up headlining everywhere after that. So it was just a matter of finding groups to open up for us. Bob Seger opened up for a tour for us. I don't know what he's doing these days, but it was a lot of fun, I was young, I was crazy. There was a lot of girls everywhere, and no shortage of that. And of course, alcohol and drugs. So,
yeah, that was the days. That was the rock stars.
Going to Australia in 1980 was like unbelievable. We were met by, thousands of kids at the airport. It was kind of like the Beatles coming to America. Same thing in Japan. When we landed in Japan, there was 5,000 kids waiting for us in Tokyo. I never realized, that we had such an impact on other countries. And, finally, towards the end of the 70s, I realized I was an international superstar. And that stuck with me through my whole life.
And do you have any crazy stories about your time maybe in Australia or Japan? I remember speaking to Jackie Fox from the Runaways, and she said that they were mobbed in Japan and they ended up running through department stores and restaurant kitchens to get away from people. Do you have any memories like that?
I'll tell you a funny story. We were in Japan, and there was this famous toy store in Tokyo, and I forget the name of the store, but all I can tell you is, we were there with our bodyguards. I bought, I always was into gadgets. I bought like radio-controlled helicopters, walkie-talkies, microscopes, anything that was, I I wanted to have everything. I bought a whole set of Nikon cameras with all the different lenses, the telescopic lens, the micro lens, and it all fit into a neatly contained package that you could carry it with. But while we were in this toy store, we got attacked by these Japanese girls all dressed up in Nazi uniforms.
What?
So that was pretty nutty. And Australia was a joy. I mean, I love Australia. The people are beautiful. The people are fun, fun-loving people, easy to get along with. I mean, the promoter of the tour, he was a maniac. We ended up buying out all the Dom Perignon champagne in by the end of the 1980 Australian tour. They had to ship in more champagne from I don't know where they got it from, but we drank. He was ordering cases and cases of Dom Perignon, and at that point in time, I was doing a lot of champagne and cocaine, and it was just. It was a roller coaster ride, we kept taking cruises in Sydney Harbor, where that famous bridge is. Yep. And he'd fill the boat up with models, fashion models, and who knows, and groupies and whatever. And I had one of the best times in my life, that first tour we did in Australia. It was really special, and I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Incredible stuff. I've got a question here from Barton Percival, who says, "Hi Ace, do you remember the night you played at Cow Palace in San Francisco on the Love Gun tour, August 16th, 1977? It was the night Elvis Presley passed away, and you guys dedicated Rock and Roll All Night to Elvis. Cheap Trick opened the show. What's your memories of that and hearing that Elvis had passed away?"
Well, I was very saddened by losing the king, because Elvis was the king. But if my memory serves me correctly, that afternoon I had like a cold and a sore throat. And I remember Bill O'Coin, my manager, getting me an acupuncturist to come to my room and give me acupuncture. I'd never had it before. And the guy was a little of a space cadet, and he was putting all these needles in me, and then he attached them to electrodes and was, pumping electricity into the needles. And then he like opened up the drapes. He goes, "There's too many negative ions in this room. We need some sunlight," because I always kept it dark. And he started cracking my back. And while he was doing that, he was a big guy. He had forgotten to take one of the needles out, right here in my throat. And he was pushing the needle in while he was trying to crack my back. And, blood started coming down, I mean, it wasn't anything major, but it was just nuts, the fact that he left the needle in. And what else happened there? I remember the Cow Palace. Yeah, that was a crazy place because they used to have rodeos there, and there was a lot of dirt, and they cover it up, I think, for concerts. I'm not exactly, I don't remember exactly what the floor was like. When they had rock concerts, maybe they covered it up with plywood or something. But it was a fun place to play. The sound wasn't that great because it was a huge place, and the sound would kind of get lost, and there'd be a lot of reflections, and it wasn't acoustically one of the better places to play, but it was a fun place to play. And I remember selling it out, and I remember doing that tribute for Elvis.